Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Witch Church. It's Mal, and I am thrilled to be here with my friend Amélie Gebhard. She is an astrologer that is based in Berlin, Germany. And Amélie, we've met like quite a few times at some conferences. We met, I think, the first time at a conference in Arizona. And I remember seeing you from afar and thinking you were like really cool, but I don't know if we talked so much at that conference. But then by the time we ran into each other at a different conference in Utah, we kind of became friends. And now we just got back from a third conference in Stockholm, and we really got to hang out and be buddies there. So I thought you were the perfect one to bring on for the June Big Three episode. And if you're new to the Witch Church podcast, the Big Three is when I invite on an astrologer friend guest to unpack the month ahead. And yeah, Amélie, thanks so much for wanting to unpack June 2025 with me.
Thank you so much, Mel, also for the invitation. And it's my pleasure to unpack June 25.
Yes, I think you're the perfect one because there are some complex energies, and I think you're just good at kind of getting a good grasp on some of these more complex transformational, universal vibes. So I think it's going to be good. But I want you to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself because you have a really interesting story. So maybe start with the big three because we all want to know the big three. And sneak peek for the audience is that Amélie and I have like, I think two of the same, or we're pretty similar in our big three. And then please tell us a little bit about maybe your journey on the path of astrology. How did you discover astrology? When did you become a professional astrologer? Yeah, we definitely want to know.
Yeah. Okay. My sun is in Cancer, my moon in Pisces, also in the 12th house, which makes it double Pisces, and Taurus rising. And my journey into the field of astrology started around 2018 in a professional way. I was always interested in astrology, and when I told my friends with the, for me, sensation that I will now study astrology, half of my old friends said, well, this is absolutely not surprising. And this surprised me because I cannot remember so in detail that I was always connected with astrology. And they said, it's perfect for you, it's perfect for you. So this was kind of funny for me. Um, it started with that someone bought my apartment, and I was thinking, okay, 14 years at the same place is enough. I will find a new one. I will be flexible. And as a Cancer sun, it's very important, our home conditions. And I couldn't find a flat. I was looking for minimum 1.5 years, and this really started to bring me questioning everything. Is the town still the town I should live in? Is the job still the job I should work for? Everything. And then I remembered that in the beginning of 2000, I was a frequent listener to a radio show every Sunday in the evening at 8 o'clock, Astrology. And astrology, an astrologer and a computer nerd, and you could call in the radio show, and it was so interesting. I loved that show, but I was too shy to call in. And then in 2018, I remembered the name of this astrologer, and I thought, okay, let's check out if this person is still working. And I found his name, and in between 48 hours, I had my first astrological reading. And I was saying, okay, I don't know what to do. There's a lot of change. What do you think? And I was also considering, because I was working nearly 30 years as a makeup artist in the film, fashion and show business, and it started to get a little bit boring, not the job in itself, but the business. And I said, please describe my perfect job. And then he started to tell me what my perfect job is. And at one point, I interrupted him and said, are you talking about astrology? And he said, yes, but you had to check it. The next study is starting in 1 week. We have one place open. Think about it. And so I went home with a lot of information about with my first reading and the option to dive deep into astrology. And I decided one night sleeping over this, and it was totally clear I will do it. And the first weekend I've been sitting in the course, I thought this cannot be everything merged together. I was always interested in philosophy, astronomy, symbolism, mythology, of course, astrology, psychology, you name it. And I was enlightened from the first second of being into the field of astrology.
Oh, that's such a good story. I love that. And I totally get what you're saying because, you know, I was a English major, but also a religious studies major. So I always say, sometimes my mom says, "Oh, you don't use your degree. I paid for your college and you just became an astrologer." And I'm like, "Mom, you're so wrong. Like astrologers use all kinds of shit that we use symbolism, mythos, psychology, um, science, math. Like astrology truly is a compilation of so many subjects. And it's also funny that that happened around 2018 because that's also when I had my sort of dark night of the soul spiritual awakening. I wonder if it was us being my rising was opposed by Pluto and Capricorn. Was Pluto opposing your sun around that time?
Of course,
Of
there,
course it was.
not like this, but of course there has been
Yeah.
very important transits. I realized them, I think, in the third year when I did only 1 year, only biography work with every method, observing your life, every solar chart of your life, every progression, solar directions, and every technique you learned applying on your life. And then I thought, okay, what happened in 2018? And you won't believe it. In the week when I started to study astrology, Uranus was crossing my ascendant.
Wow. Oh, yeah, because you're Taurus rising. So it's the identity shift. Yeah.
And and the change from being a makeup artist to becoming an astrologer was during Pluto's transit over my midheaven and the North Node.
There we go. There we go. Yep. I feel like it's always Uranus and Pluto, when the astrologer kind of wakes up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was such a good story. And I hope that maybe, I'm sure there's people listening who are waking up to the desire to study astrology. And it can feel really intimidating and scary and exciting. And it's inspiring that you just took one night to sleep on it and you were like, no, this is for me. Like, this is it. Oh, and I think that's the perfect transition into maybe June because there's a lot of, we could say, big identity shifts. And we were talking about putting Saturn and Neptune on the docket for our big three of June. And it's a good segue. Last month, we had Janae Anthony on, and me and Janae discussed a lot about Saturn in Aries. But I will say, I haven't dug deep with anybody yet into Saturn's conjunction with Neptune in Aries. And even though this transit technically does not perfect until February 2026, there are a few things, especially this month, June, where we're really going to be feeling this incoming Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. And if you're watching on YouTube, you might want to watch this one on YouTube. I'm going to pull up some visuals here because Amélie is such a great like visual person, and she created some of these really cool charts to show us a little bit about the history of Saturn and Neptune conjunctions. So I'll give the mic to you, Amélie. I guess for the listener who's still kind of marinating on what does the Saturn Neptune conjunction mean? How is it going to be an overarching theme, not only for this month, but like for the next, who knows, 10 years? Maybe you could give us some spark notes and just a little bit of an overview of what you think about this combination.
Yes, let's start with this slide. I found this transit conjunction and impact chart function on astroseek.com. And I thought it's very helpful for people to see the angular relationships, means aspects in their natal chart. You can give your birth coordinates into it, and then you see your chart, and then you see which kind of aspect is triggering your personal planets. And then I wanted to know, because of course we can always read in histories about what older astrologers, I mean more experienced astrologers who are doing their job since 30, 40, 50 years, we can always stand on their shoulders and read what experience they made. And I always want to see what is something doing in my chart to maybe observe if I can find something, what did this transit triggering in my chart. And so I found out the first time, I was never paying attention to that the last transit, the conjunction of Saturn-Neptune happened in 89, and I moved to Berlin in January 90, and the conjunction was in opposition to my sun directly. And then I was reflecting about what this new input, these two planets are birthing into our consciousness, how this influenced my identity, sun. And then I was looking for the conjunction which will come. And this is, of course, a totally different vibe. The conjunction in Capricorn, Earth sign, cardinal sign. And now we have also, again, a cardinal sign, but a fire sign with a totally different topic. And 0 degrees Aries is, if you want to see it in a classical view, the first degree of the zodiac, where everything will be born. Your first breath, right? Something like this. And I saw that this time it's opposing my Pluto. And then I was thinking about, okay, what does this mean for the generation who has Pluto in the late Virgo, beginning of Libra position? It's a whole generation who is confronted, opposition, with the new topic. This was maybe, or is maybe, helpful for just to reflect what kind of planets will triggered in your chart. And the when I was thinking about in January, what are the main transits of the year, I wanted to find only one word for the whole stuff. And I found I found one word for Neptune in Aries and one word for Saturn in Aries, and didn't think about it. And now when, first of all, Neptune was moving into Aries and now Saturn in Aries, I went back to the words and I realized I think they are maybe fitting very well. For Neptune in Aries, I found frequency.
Mm.
And frequency, if you use it as a technical term, frequency is measured in hertz. And hertz is also, if you write it not with a T and Z, hertz, if you only write it with a Z, then it's heart.
Ah, yeah.
Maybe this is the message of Saturn in Aries, to realize what your heart frequency is and for what your heart is burning.
Mm.
And the word for Saturn in Aries was, this is now funny, I have to find Elastizität in German.
Elasticity.
Elasticity. And it's also a technical term. It means that you change the form, but after the process, you get back into the form.
Oh my gosh, that is genius. Yeah. Oh, wow. Because I would never think to describe Saturn as elastic, because we so often describe Saturn as like this like heavy brick, of a foundation. But what you're getting at is similar. And, we come from slightly different schools of astrology. Amélie is more of a kind of soul. Would you describe yourself as an evolutionary astrologer, Amélie?
I would describe myself as a multi-dimensional astrologer.
Amélie, yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
I started with psychological astrology. Now I'm doing for years studying as well evolutionary astrology. But I am so inspired by every kind of astrology. I really have to concentrate myself that I do not mix everything together. But I love that I take this from this and this from this and
Exactly, exactly. And the Hellenistic astrologers, like from my, end of things, sometimes they can be sticklers. But I'm thinking about how Hellenistic astrologers will say Saturn is in fall in Aries, meaning Saturn is not doing so well in Aries. But we misinterpret what they actually mean by that, because they're not actually saying Saturn is bad in Aries. What they're saying is Saturn has to get kind of creative and has to do his job unlike the way he wants to do it. So thinking about Saturn in Aries, the keyword elasticity, I'm thinking that's perfect, because Saturn by nature would not typically work in that way. He would prefer to be more heavy, kind of permanent, not change forms. But in Aries, in his fall, he has to learn.
yes.
He has to do something a little bit different. And on your note about Neptune in Aries, the word being frequency, all I can say is my friends make fun of me for saying frequency too much.
Yes, I know it has a little esoteric touch, but it's a physical measurement thing. It's a physical word, and that's what I liked also with the elasticity name. I wanted to something very technical.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, for those listeners who were born in 1989 when this Saturn uh, Neptune conjunction in Capricorn happened, maybe thinking about what happened around that time for you, end of 1989, early 1990, especially if you have cardinal placements at 10 degrees, because that conjunction in 1989 happened at 10 degrees Capricorn. And fast forwarding to this year, Saturn and Neptune are together again, hanging out at the 0 degree mark of Aries. So again, do you have anything in the early stages of the cardinal signs, because you are going to be extra affected, I think, by this conjunction, this sort of energy, the elasticity frequency of it all.
I do have Jupiter in Capricorn on 2 degrees.
Okay, there we go.
So
Yeah.
it will make a square.
Hmm. I have Pluto at 0 degrees Sagittarius. So this is trining my Pluto.
Oh,
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to go back to too, you make this good point that Saturn and Neptune are the outer planets. So, can the outer planets affect us individually? For sure. But they also have such a larger collective story. So, thinking about the generational planets, like our Pluto and Libra generation, our Pluto and Virgo generation, being opposed by this Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries, I think there's a lot about identity, which for me is my key word for Aries. It's the who am I sign.
yes.
So I think our generations are going through a lot of tension, questioning their identity. And yeah, I think it's relevant in many different worldly conflicts, atrocities, genocides going on in this moment in 2025.
And also Pluto has so many meanings. It's not only to the big transformator, it's also with which idea I identify myself connected to the eighth house. What are my values? What I choose to connect with. And so maybe this generation who will feel the opposition of this conjunction with their Pluto, maybe they are invited to think about with what kind of ideals, identities, and connections they want to concentrate in future, what is important for them, what has lost its importance. I mean, it's been 30 years ago, the last cycle, so people are changing and everything is changing. Maybe the environment you made some decisions 30 years ago is also totally different. And it's always good to remember that you can start every day new. That's also maybe important. And on the personal level, I would say that Saturn has also always something to do with discipline,
Mm.
and Neptune with dreams. And it's also a great chance to bring your discipline to bring your dream into reality. And it sounds like a great promise, but Saturn wants that you work for that. And
Oh.
sometimes people forget this. They say, okay, I manifest this in my life and it will happen. And I think Saturn is remembering us to do our damn work for that.
Oh my gosh. I obviously feel that so much with this presence being in my 10th house of career. And I just technically finished my Saturn return, kind of, sort of, because Saturn will dip back into Pisces this fall. But, this transition from from Pisces into Aries, it's kind of like, okay, your Saturn return's over. Like, what are you doing with the knowledge that you built, So yeah, I think it's kind of like that for everybody though, even if you're not in your Saturn return period.
You can find so many different words to describe the energy, the archetypal energy of a planet. And you can be creative with this. Saturn can also mean structure, and Neptune can mean soul. So you can ask yourself what kind of structure you need that your soul feels great.
Yeah, I love it. I
And
love it.
so on and so on. You can play with this. I think it's very important that you do not follow any cookbook delineations of planets or energies, that you think about it and reflect what fits for you. And as well, of course, as always, in every new moon, full moon, every conjunction, every happening in the sky, in which house of your chart is it happening?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it triggering your natal planets? What's going on there? What's the story of your natal chart, and how this means now maybe an evolutionary step for you to find your new self, to discover who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, it's good. It's good. And this isn't the only important thing, overarching energy that's happening in Aries, because also we have two asteroids or planetoids, whatever you prefer to call them, dwarf planets. We have Chiron and Eris also meeting up in Aries. And that is another important conjunction. Now, I told you this, Amelie, before we started recording, but I'm so excited for us to talk about planetoid Eris, since I don't know if I've ever talked about that with anybody at Witch Church. It's not typically a sort of influence that I talk about. So I'm excited for you to maybe teach us a little bit more about what is to come with Chiron and Eris being conjunct in Aries. And before you start, I'll just quickly say that if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that Chiron and Eris actually got together May 27th of 2025. So end of last month, they technically had a conjunction at 25 degrees Aries.
In the minute of the new moon in Gemini. And that's why I came to this. I was thinking, okay, what kind of rabbit hole this could be.
Yes, yes. And later this year in October, they will have another conjunction at 25 degrees Aries. And then next year, March 2026, they'll have a third conjunction in Aries. So not totally unlike the Saturn-Neptune cycle too. So really keep in mind, a lot is going on in our Aries houses. I've said that many times this year on Witch Church. Keep an eye on your Aries house. What is happening in your Aries house? But give us the 101, Amelie, on Eris, and how would you describe this asteroid slash planetoid?
Yes, maybe I start with a fact which fascinates me, because this is the first time we will observe this conjunction and its effect in a conscious way, because Chiron was discovered in 1977. Aries was discovered in 2003, and the last conjunction was in 71. And Aries has a cycle about something like 528 years, Chiron 52. So every person on this planet, which is not older than 100 years, has Aries in Aries. And I think that's amazing that you can only find definitions what Aries can mean in your chart with the aspects it's making with your natal planets. And if you see the relationship between Chiron and Aries, you also have only the aspects to find out what it could mean. And so I was looking also at AstroSeek if there are any public figures who has a Chiron-Eris conjunction, and I found that Julian Assange has a Chiron-Eris conjunction. And this brings me not to talk about their discovered charts and a lot of mythology, because you can fill hours with this information. It's so interesting to see the discovery charts of these. Aries is a dwarf planet, and Chiron Centaur. Chiron is in the Kuiper girdle belt between Uranus and Saturn, and Aries is far, far, far beyond Pluto.
I was gonna say that must be I was thinking Eris must be really far out there if basically our whole lifetime he'll be in Aries, so he's moving quite slowly.
And in the what I found out in my research was that when it was Eris was discovered, they gave her a number name um, of the year 2003, and then a number combination about the date. And there was I think in 2005, there was a big astronomy conference when they chose the name for her. Then it was Eris, the goddess of chaos, discord, and strife. And at the same conference, Pluto was downgraded as a dwarf planet. So this makes really sense that she's the goddess of chaos and discord. If you imagine what kind of wave went through the astrology world, that Pluto is not a planet no more.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wait, that's like very profound thinking about uh Eris as the planet of chaos and discord, and Eris and Chiron have been approaching this conjunction now for at least a couple years. And what do we say every single day? We say, oh my God, this world is so chaotic. We live in an unprecedented time. I don't know how to process all that is going on. I don't know what to do. Like we believe ourselves to be living in uh, a time of unprecedented chaos, and we also believe ourselves to be wounded because of that. And I'm just thinking about the sort of combination of Chiron, the wounded healer, and Eris, the planet of chaos, and or not the planet, but the dwarf planet of chaos and discord.
Yes, and only short versions what Chiron could mean. I made some notes. The pain memory, which maybe get never resolved. Our struggle to cope with our wounds, and the area also we can get the most healing in our life. So Chiron and Aries is absolutely the question you said before, also with a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Who am I? And it's also the invitation to heal the identity wound. So just being somebody instead of feeling like a nobody. I only say the name imposter syndrome. It came up now with Chiron in Aries. Nobody used this term imposter syndrome. It's an invitation to understand that all parts of your nature made you the person you are today. That it's nothing you have to be, you feel ashamed of or feeling sorry for this. It's a part of the deal that you are now the best version of yourself, but only with a part of the history, all the wounds, all the bad things which happened to. And it's an invitation to healing self-doubt and identity issues and developing a deep acceptance and compassion for your own healing journey. And if you feel this for yourself, you can share this feeling with the healing journeys of other people, and you can maybe develop more compassion to the other people. And that's very important nowadays, to have compassion with instead of fighting that someone has another opinion. It's they also have a story you don't know. And the short notes I made about Aries is that she shows your response on emotional triggers.
Ooh, yep.
And she produces discord to the status quo because she asks uncomfortable questions, and she's playing out the dysfunction in the system, and she helps you to release suppressed and unresolved emotions. And it depends on how long you suppressed your very uncomfortable emotions, how hard her reaction is. So for her, it's an invitation to use this discomfort as a healthy discomfort, and acting from the sacred realm of self-love to heal your soul. And if the wounds and the discomfort are coming together, it has a great message like, I'm sorry for the words, get rid of your shit, to clean out, make an emotional detox,
Yeah.
to be your new you. You can only you only have access to all the potential, the new movements during 25 and 26 happening. All slow planets are changing signs. You can only use this potential if you have space in yourself. So I think this is one of the most important transits which are in the background to clean out your emotional closet.
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. It really hits for sure. And it's funny you kept using the word compassion, Amélie, because me and my friend, who is also an astrologer, we were talking about how Liz Green now has a Chiron book that came out in the past couple years. It's called Chiron in Love: The Astrology of Envy, Rage, Compassion, and Wisdom. And I've yet to get my hands on the book in full, but my friend was sending me a couple pages from this Chiron book. And, Liz Green's, main point about Chiron, especially in synastry, is that, when we have strong Chiron aspects to others, usually it does mean we're in a significant connection with them, whether that's familial or romantic, business partners, whatever. Chiron shows up in synastry a lot more than we think, because it's about developing compassion for not only our wounds, but other people's wounds, and how we trigger those things in each other. Yeah, I think there's something here with going to the Chiron Eris conjunction. gosh, we're in this phase of humanity where we're leveling up our threshold of compassion. And you know, I think that's really the challenge for some, I call it the monarchy, or like our political leaders of the world. I think they still kind of act in the karma of whatever their past monarchy was, you know, maybe they're King Henry VIII or something, beheading their wives. But I think we're still ruled by leaders who are very much in a lack of compassion because of their own karma, with ruling over the peasants and believing themselves as genuinely better than the peasants. And now the peasants, aka us, you know, we're here to also help them resolve their karma and say, hey, I'm not any different than you are. I have a heart. I need to eat. I need a safe place to sleep, etc., etc. So I think that collective karma we're playing out, the king versus the peasants, it feels very Chiron-Eris in a lot of ways. I don't know if that makes any sense, but just thinking about expanding compassion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have two thoughts while you are saying this. First of all, I'm thinking again of the place of Chiron. It's between Saturn and Uranus. And I know that a few astrologers are naming Chiron as a bridge of awareness between these two planets. That Saturn represents what society expects from you, which has also do something with how do you identify with what society expects from you, and do you free yourself from this? Free your mind and the rest will follow, right? Because Uranus is your internal evolution to set you free by exploring new horizons. And this new horizon is something we have to do in a personal way, but we also have to find it in society way. These are two different threads you can follow, what it's mean in a personal level and what on the society level. And the second thought I just forgot, but it's coming again. Also on a personal level and also on society level is the wound the divine feminine has over the last centuries, and now also the divine masculine. And you can also see this conjunction as the divine feminine and the divine masculine are meeting. And you can also name it yin and yang, whatever words you find. It's we are talking about the passive and the active parts in ourselves. But this is also an aspect we can think about, because I think that also it's an Aries typical thing to speak up for taboo subjects and talking about these things, however and uncomfortable and painful it is. And when we look at the chart of Greta Thunberg, for example, and I remember her speech at the UN, how dare you, what you are doing with the planet? And she has a very prominent Aries placement in her chart, or the Me Too movement. And I think Aries is something we really have to add in the charts. I was inspired to do this because I visited in Stockholm after the conference we meet, the workshop with Rick Levine, and he always had Aries in the charts. And one participant of the workshop asked him why Aries, And then he said, well, when Chiron was discovered, it was new to put Chiron into the chart. And now, 25 years later, it's totally, or no, it's much, much more. It's 50 years later. It's totally normal to add Chiron into the chart. And Aries was discovered 2003, then named as Aries in 2005. Since 2005, she's an official dwarf planet, bigger than Pluto. And now we have 25. So 20 years later, I think it's time to add Aries in our charts.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, totally. I think it's something I want to dig into a lot more now that we talked about it. I'm definitely inspired. And just I think it's very significant that this is the first Eris Chiron conjunction that we are conscious of, that we, like that's cool.
Yes, and I came to the big three thing that Chiron-Eris conjunction might be the one of the big three, because this conjunction is making aspects to every personal planet during June. And 1st of June, it starts with a conjunction of Venus. Venus is coming to the Chiron-Eris party. So maybe we are invited to start our journey with Chiron and Eris to think about our values and what is important for us in our relationships, and then to get into the deep stuff. So, what are our wounds in our relationship, where we have problems to speak up in our relationship, or regarding to our values? Questions like this, it's only an invitation, because after that, you see a few days later, it's this conjunction is making an sextile to Mercury, so it's a good chance then to talk about this, what you found out.
Mm,
And
yeah.
after that, it's a trine to Mars. So let's go in action and walk your talk. So, but then we see, okay, it makes some aspects with the moon, trine, opposition, trine, square. Yes, of course, if you delve deep into your emotional world, there's something coming up. And I think it's important in June to give yourself always space to heal, to digest, to take a pause, not to hurry, even if it's in Aries, and we know that the speed of Aries is very fast. Just consciously say, stop, I need some time out.
Oh, this chart is amazing. And yeah, I think this is great. I'll hopefully I can figure out a way to like attach it or something, or if you're on YouTube, you can take a screenshot. But yeah, it looks like Amelie has a lot of the Eris conjunction, or the Eris Chiron transits and the Saturn-Neptune transits, of course, on the big three. We won't go into every day, but I think this is super exciting. And just even to see, wow, almost every day of this month, there's some
Thing cooking, yes. And
something's cooking.
I made the transits with the moon in blue so that you can also see here the moon phase, and also the main topic of the moon quarter. And I think it's a good start in June to start journaling your experience, just to find out what it could mean, because this is a transit which will have his third and final pass on the 20th of March next year. So there is something going on. And as I said, if you want to clean your emotional closet, you should start doing this.
Oh, well, I think that's actually a really good segue into maybe the third of the big three, which is Jupiter in Cancer, if we feel called to talk about that, because I like that we did two more overarching transits to begin. And I'll share the chart for June 9th, because it's June 9th where Jupiter will ingress into Cancer. And keep in mind, we'll also have a new moon in we'll have a new moon in Cancer this month, which we'll go into, and we'll also have a full moon in Sagittarius. So both the new moon and the full moon have direct ties to Jupiter. So we'll kind of use Jupiter in Cancer as a segue for the lunations of this month too. But definitely mark June 9th on your calendar. This is a new cycle for Jupiter. Jupiter will now be in Cancer for the next year or so. And I think it's a nice support to all of the Aries stuff that is going on. Suddenly Jupiter's coming in to kind of help iron some things out. And like you said, clean out the emotional closet, which I think Cancerian energy often is needing to do because we have so many emotional maybe transformations to work through. But I want to know like your gut feeling and your just intuitive knowing of, who is Jupiter in Cancer.
By dignity, which is the Hellenistic technique, it's in his, how do you say?
It's in now I'm forgetting. It's not domicile, it's exaltation. There we go.
Exaltation, thank you. Erhöhung is the German word for it. In exaltation, yes, you can, if you only look at this transit in a superficial way, you think, you promise all the Cancerian people out there, this is the highlight season of your life. But I don't want to be the party crasher. It's also the opening square of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in 2020. So it might be possible that in the first weeks of Jupiter in Cancer, it's not so smooth like you will read it in Sun column signs, horoscope. It's fantastic. I will look forward for this transit because it will also highlight my sun as a Cancer sun. Of course, we love this, and your ascendant as well, right? I love that maybe Jupiter in Cancer gives us the medicine the world needs right now. Means every sun sign has its adult versions and his childish version, or it childish versions. And I know that a lot of people think that Cancer is a little bit annoying because always caring, even if you don't ask for it, maybe jealous, maybe controlling, maybe, well, not easygoing, but in an, I say, adult way. Cancer is offering the heart the world needs right now, and we should concentrate on this energy.
Yeah, I think it goes along with like the compassion themes that we were talking about with Chiron and Eris. And as you were talking, I was thinking about how Jupiter in Cancer is kind of the image of the divine mother, And so often the mother is disrespected or undermined in our society, but yet also there are different religious monuments where we really respect and honor the mother. And I'm specifically thinking about the Basilica of Lady Guadalupe in Mexico City,
Oh,
which is a great place. And you can go, and there's like dozens of shrines and a fountain that are all, in the theme of giving respect, honor, love to Lady Guadalupe. And there's also I think once a year, there's kind of like a pilgrimage where people literally like walk on their knees, and it's a way of giving respect to Lady Guadalupe if she has answered your prayers. And I'm wondering, like, if this is a little bit like of a respect your mother or else kind of thing, especially with Jupiter squaring Saturn. It's like, and I don't mean your literal mother, although maybe I mean more of the archetypal mother. Are you giving respect to the archetypal mother? Are you nurturing yourself? Are you loving yourself? Are you replenishing yourself? Like, I think all of those themes may be very present when Jupiter is in Cancer.
yes. Do you care for yourself? Do you care for yourself? Do you care for your needs? Do you know your needs?
Yeah.
Let's start with this. And to give yourself refuge.
Mm,
So very important to not feel homeless in this world,
yeah.
and to look what is family for you. And if you have no relationship to the family you were born in or to your caretakers, find a new definition of family, of really heartful connection. When I said it's about the heart, yes, that's only the topic line of it. And when you go deeper to what Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer can mean, it's a field of emotional richness
Mm,
can open if you are open. And I
mm,
think it's a very interesting fact, by the way. It just reminds me because Jupiter is also doing then the conjunction with Mercury and also the conjunction with the Cancer Sun. And I realized, and I was a little bit uh, thinking about the journey of Mercury in June because he's very fast, he's traveling and is in 3 signs in between 1 month. He starts being in Mercury because he is, since the one day after the new moon in Gemini, he went into Gemini. Then he also changes signs on 9th of June when Jupiter is coming to in Cancer. He's also coming in Cancer. And after that, on the 27th, he will go to or travel along into Leo. Then I realized if Mercury is responsible for how we digest information, we can get a lot of datas and infos in June about the Gemini archetype, what means Gemini in relation to the whole zodiac, what is the next step, Cancer, and then again, Leo means getting some data, feel it emotionally, and then bring it out into the world.
mm, mhm.
And it's like you put a 3-month journey, the sun in Gemini, Cancer, Leo. It's like you put the information of 3 months in 1 month. That's also very important.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned like that sort of information collection, because June 11th is the full moon in Sagittarius. So it's funny, we have the moon answering to that newly ingressed Jupiter in Cancer. But then it's the full moon in Sagittarius because the sun is in Gemini. So the sun is answering to Mercury in Cancer. So, like, this full moon on the 11th leads us back to Jupiter and Mercury hanging out in Cancer. And like you said, this is only one of 3 stops that Mercury is making in June, but obviously he has a very important conversation to have with Jupiter, and it does have to do with emotional information, right? That's what I think about with Jupiter conjunct Mercury.
Yes. It's emotional intelligence. The data we collect and analyze will become emotional intelligence.
Yeah, emotional intelligence. That's perfect. Yeah, this is the emotional intelligence full moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it encourages you to explore your truth as well.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Uh, I think that's really important because Cancer also has to do with separation in a way, because it's Cancer. Sometimes the wound is not the wound, but the point is enmeshment, and the way that a mother and a child need each other to survive, the way that a child needs the mother for like breast milk and love and uh emotional regulation, especially as an infant. So
And
the wound of Cancer sometimes is the time when the child has to grow up and become an individual and learn to survive on their own. And there's a lot of emotional intelligence needed in that transition. And if anything, that transition is the root of a lot of our collective shit, you know? So I don't know, something like that just popped into my head.
yes, and I was thinking also about this importance of being touched. The somatic experience is also very important as a child. Do you know the movie Amélie?
Yes,
Seen it, the French movie?
I haven't seen it, but I know it for sure.
I love the scene. It's just in the beginning when the person, the voice in the background is telling about that no one was touching the little Amélie. And when she had her first appointment at the doctor and he was listening to her heartbeat, she gets so excited that someone was touching her the first time, so that the doctor thought she has a heart disease.
Oh my goodness.
This can happen with Jupiter in Cancer as well.
Mm, wow, that's profound. Yeah, that's profound. I'm going to tuck that into my pocket for sure. And I think what you're saying also, it has to do with the new moon too. Maybe this is like a good segue for the new moon. Let's click over to that, which will be um it'll be the new moon in Cancer, and the moon will move into Cancer. Let's rewind just a little bit. It looks like
It has a conjunction with Jupiter, and I don't want to promise too much, but it seems that this could be a really auspicious new moon, maybe the most auspicious new moon in the year. I don't know.
I
But
100% agree. Like, even just thinking about June 25th is that new moon in Cancer. Um, Conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is exalted. At the same time, Venus, our other benefic, is in her domicile in Cancer. So, the benefics are really happy in this chart. And there's something really magical going on in the Cancer arena.
maybe it's like a little pause of the chaos of the world. Maybe it's the little space you become from the universe to recover from whatever is happening on the daily basis. Because for me, it has always Cancer an invitation, as I said before, for self-care. And so it's also embracing your emotional growth. Maybe you see the results of the hard work you did the last months.
It's so funny you say that, Amelie, because like even in the past couple days, there's been certain situations where I've been like, wow, I've grown. Like, I don't think I've seen my emotional growth. This isn't me saying, oh my God, I'm so emotionally mature, but like, it's hard sometimes when you're like in the thick of like the healing and the pain and the wounds. And you don't often have those moments where you're like, damn, like I've changed. I am handling this differently, or I am not behaving in the same way as I used to.
And this fits perfectly into the topic we had before, because Aries is asking that we use this chaotic moments to consciously choose how we respond on that. And maybe this is the auspicious part of the new moon, that we realize that it's very healing if we are realizing that something is changing, because I'm 100% sure that no one feels happy to be the victim of the own patterns we are feeling trapped in.
Ooh, yes, yes. Ooh, this is big. Yeah. I love the lunations this month. I think this is my favorite month of 2025 when it comes to the new moon and the full moon, of course, because Jupiter is going to be involved in both. And this was such a good month ahead forecast. I feel like we went so many places, and I really appreciate your perspective. And we went really zoomed out and zoomed in. And yeah, I wonder, is there any final intuitive messages or anything else you want to say to our listeners as we wind down?
Um, yes, it was maybe one of the last slides I sent you.
Yes, let's pull that up.
I don't know if we had already this.
We
Yeah,
didn't
this
hit
one.
on.
Did we have this one before? Have we?
No, we didn't hit on this quite yet.
Yes, because I think this could be my message. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction to see as that form follows frequency, and the Aries Chiron conjunction to see as that your inner divine yin part will marry in a sacred moment your inner yang part. It will be when these two come together, the new you will form, and maybe we have a little perspective on the new you.
Ooh, I feel it. I feel it with me personally. I feel I have a new perspective on the new me. So that's a really good last sentiment. Yeah, June will give you a new perspective on the new you, at least a little snippet, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, awesome, Amélie. And of course, I'll have all of your stuff in the show notes, like your website and your Instagram. But just tell us really quickly where we can find you.
Yeah, I am a little, I was a little lazy with my Instagram. You can find me with the stars we are. I'm really promising that I work on that. I made a post for the new moon in Gemini. So we are talking here at end of May. So I'm working on that, but you can send me a mail if you can if you can understand German. You have the chance to listen to my podcast every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks.
Oh, amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I love to do it, but it's in German.
Okay, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe if you are listening and you have been on the market for a German astrologer, yeah, feel free to check out Amélie because you do consultations in both German and English.
That's true. And my podcast is called Astro Disco. You can find it on Spotify and iTunes. I do consultations, and yeah,
Great. Yeah,
it,
that's very Berlin of you to name your podcast Astro Disco.
I I loved the combination with the disco. I had a year before a few friends. We met regularly to swim in summertime, and this group I called Aqua Disco.
I love it.
Uh, it was a pleasure to talk to you, Mel. I really have to say time flight, and I have the feeling we just went on the surface, but maybe I hope the audience will find nuggets they can bite on.
They always do. They always do. Yeah, I have faith. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.